What's going on, you guys? Bring your friends here, and today I'm giving you my complete spec walkthrough tutorial. The game is Path of Exile. The class I chose is Witch, and long story short, as far as what this class does, it is a tri-element block build, life leech build. So that being said, let's get into the talent points themselves, and pretty much I'm all over the place when it comes to on the tree, but the main things you're going to want to get when it comes to this build is blocking, elemental equilibrium, chaos inoculation, ghost reaver, and that's pretty much it as far as the necessities that you get, and pretty much just a bunch of block nodes. Everything else is purely preference, but I have found this to be the best so far for my type of build and my type of play. So with elemental equilibrium is a big one, just because I'm not basing this build off of crit. I'm basing it off of stacking or negating your resistances. So you're going to be using elemental equilibrium, and elemental weakness is going to be a big one as well. And also I have dual curses just for the fact that temporal chains is very good, especially if you're using every element like myself, because you're using lightning, you're using fire, and you're using frost. Temporal change actually increases the effect of all three status alignments, which is shock, chilled, and ignite. So temporal chains is pretty much a must-have for this type of build, and pretty much your damage, as I said, is going to be coming from negative resistances. Elemental equilibrium combined with elemental weakness is pretty much 100%, if not more, negative resistances on whatever target you happen to be targeting with the other two spells. Now, you can negate the effects of the plus 25 resistance to the element you're actually initially hitting them with if you spec into or gem into whatever resist or penetration it is, regardless of the spell you're using. I'm actually using Spark just for a numerous amount of reasons. One, you can actually spark, and with enough spark you can actually fill an entire map in PvP or PvE. I actually made the spec with both of them in mind. With PvP, it's generally pretty small maps and you can fill the entire room. You can kill somebody out of line of sight. There's almost nowhere to hide when it comes to spark. So which is why it's such a good spell. You can safely kill somebody out of line of sight, or you can just sit there and bang with them. It doesn't even matter which, but it's good in almost every scenario. So that being said, going to my build now, or the spells that I use, let's just get into that first. Use Shield Charge, LE Weakness, Spark is my main attack, Temporal Chains for the status alignments and the slow and the attack speed. Cold Snap, I use Cold Snap just because it's one of the highest hitting attacks that I have, and I get a lot of life leech out of it, which this is a life leech build. Molten Shell, this is pretty much the melee killer in any PvP or PvE scenario, and I leech life from this as well. So 8% of 22,000 plus the negative 100 resistance you have them, you do the math, for each enemy. So you're pretty much leeching back your entire health if this goes off in a group of in a lot of mobs. I use Arctic Breath on a totem with LMP, Fast Cast, and I think that's it. Yeah, so Arctic Breath, Spell Totem, Fast Cast, and LMP. The reason why I don't use Arctic Breath with other things such as like Ice Spear or whatever is because, one, it does a lot of damage close up or far away. Two, even in a PvP scenario, the only thing that Arctic Breath lacks on is if there are like rocks or like debris in the way. As far as terrain, Arctic Breath will not go through it. Ice Spear will. So it's definitely a spell of preference. But with Arctic Breath, you can kite a lot easier if need be because of the trail of ice leaves behind it. So I like Arctic Breath. And also with Arctic Breath, you are getting that huge bonus of damage because of elemental equilibrium and elemental weakness along with temporal chains. So definitely a hard-hitting spell with the tree and gear that I'm running. And of course, Spark has Fork, Life Leech, and fast cast on it, so I can cast it at quite a high rate, leech back energy shield at quite a fast pace, and use it in more than one scenario, regardless if it's going to be at long range or at point blank range. The three, I only use Clarity, Discipline, and Tempest Shield, and the reason why is because I don't need Purity because I'm already maxed out at 75%, and the fact that I can block spells and attacks negates the fact of you having really super high all resist to begin with, because you can block any attack, you can block any spell, and every time you do so you're going to do lightning damage, which is leeching back your energy shield for you passively. Now the only thing that you really need to worry about when you have a block or a build like this is block recovery. Since you are CI, every time you take a huge hit, it doesn't really work the way you would think it would. I've done some reading on it, and with Chaos Inoculation, you're going to take, so say if somebody hits you, it's going to do a stun based off of your life before you spec into CI. So whatever my health is right now before I spec into CI, that is what determines if I take a block or not. And having block recovery is honestly game breaking when it comes to this build, because the less time you spend in block recovery, the more time you spend damaging your opponent or doing whatever you have to do. Avoiding cast interruption is also crucial for this build as well, and Inner Force is going to be a must, just because Inner Force buffs all your auras. It buffs Molten Shell, and it buffs Tempest Shield, so pretty much it is a necessary thing to have. Also, the fact that you need, this is pretty much a very gear dependent build, but you need at least 2 items mandatory for this to work the way you want it to. One is the Stone of Lazwar, a very cheap item. You can pretty much get it for like an Alk or Chaos. The other one is the Wrathpith Globe, and the reason why is because of the block chance applied to spells. The Wrathpith is 54 and the Stone is 50, so that right there I have 104% chance of block applied to spells. With my block right now I have 48%. Block chance to spells I have 56%. So you pretty much have a half chance as of right now with my current build to block half of one of 2 of every attacks is going to be blocked, damaging your opponent, and you're leeching back somewhat of the damage that is dealt with Tempest Shield. Now a lot of people have used Elemental Proliferation on Tempest Shield, and I would say that's a pretty decent idea. It's also very based upon your preference. I like to negate the resistances because I'm using Spark as my main attack, so I would like to do more damage with Tempest Shield. I'm using it more for Life Leech than anything, and I'm using my Spark to spread the shock status alignment to my enemies. So Elemental Proliferation isn't really that big of a deal to me when it comes to Tempest Shield. And there is also one other item in the game that has block chance applied to spells, and that is, I believe, the Rainbow Stride Boots. It's around a 25% chance, but you would be getting rid of the one additional curse, which is actually Temporal Chains, which is increasing the status alignment of the shock or ignite or whatever you may be doing. Now going down to your flasks, in PvP I have noticed that curses are pretty much the #1 killer of my spec. So I have Granite Flasks with immunity to curses on every single one of them except my Quicksilver, which dispels Frozen and Chilled. Now with this much curse immunity, I usually have more than enough time to get the job done. Even with being slowed, I have enough cast speed to really negate any type of slow that's on me with Spark, which it is a 2.82. When I'm done with the build, it'll have well over 3.0 cast per second, and with Temporal Chains, it's what, 37% slower. Probably quality, you're looking at around 50%. So you're looking at a normal cast speed, and you can still win a match based off that alone. I'm pretty sure I covered everything. It's just giving you a layout of my gear. I have windscreen boots. The belt is pretty much just all strength with some resistances, just so I have enough to basically run anything. Without the belt, I pretty much can't wear anything. Dream Fragments just for the cannot be frozen in PvP, plus it works great for my spec. Increased mana regen, which I really need, and the cold resistance is nice too, and of course the max mana. The Wrathpith Globe, I got this because of the high block. The spell damage doesn't really mean too much for me. The increased max life does, just because of the chances of getting stunned. The high energy shield and the lightning resistances. Geofreeze Crest, pretty much just got it because of the resist and the +1 to gems in the item. I might be replacing this down the road, depending on if I can get just high resist and a higher energy shield before. The +1 to gems ain't really that big of a deal. I would rather have more shield than damage right now at this point anyways. My chest, just 549 energy shield, has energy shield, max energy shield, and fire resist, a little bit to max life. Definitely going to be replacing this with possibly Chevron's Wrappings, even though it's not a low life build. It's one of the highest energy shield items in the game, and that is something I sorely need right now. Even though I can easily sustain my my energy shield through life leech through all of my abilities, but more energy shield is definitely something worth getting. And my other ring, just stacking all resist, cold resist, 39 to fire, and 10 all attributes, 15 to strength, 16 to life. And the reason why I run a one-handed mace is because you need a mace to run shield charge, and one of the reasons why shield charge is so good standalone is because of the 70% increased movement speed. You are a little slow with this build, and that's why shield charge is so important to me. You don't need to stack fast attack speed with shield charge or anything else such as like whirling blades in order for it to be effective that you can kind of spam. So that's why I chose shield charge with a one-handed mace instead of a wand. And then with my gloves, 20%, just added lightning damage, max life, increased energy shield is the main thing I'm looking for, and that is the one I have Tempest Shield in. So yeah, that's pretty much it. As I said, my running Clarity, Discipline, and Tempest Shield, and just stacking out 75% max resist just because Purity isn't really a necessity with this. But I guess if you want to change it up, you're also always more than welcome. This is just my build, so if you guys have any comments or if you want to have any questions, please comment down below. And I will also be having a link to my build in the description of this video. And actually, I'm also going to be showing you some gameplay just so you guys can get a feel for the spec itself. Let's do it. And as of right now, I don't run Lightning Penetration just because I don't have enough mana regen at the moment to run it, but it will be something I will be putting in the Tempest Shield down the road. So pretty much, yeah, just cursing everybody up, throwing down the totem, and just going ham with Spark. And also the great thing about this is you can pretty much be in entirely a different room altogether. There's Molten Shell going off, leech back my entire health. And I also popped Granite just because if you didn't block, you can also get a lot of damage mitigation through melee in order for the shield to explode. But the great thing about Spark, as I was saying, is you can pretty much be in another room and pull everything to you. You don't even have to go to them because Spark travels quite the distance, and you can just sit there and set up shop and wait for everything to just come to you. So marking up everything, and then pretty much just letting them get withered away. And of course, since your Chaos Inoculation, poison pretty much is meaningless to you. shield charge to close the gap and just face tank him. Here we go. Boom, boom. Leech back all your health. So it's pretty much effectively using every single element at your disposal. And with elemental equilibrium, just really cool. You see right there, I'm actually in quite a bit of block recovery because of everything. Because of blocking so much, it actually was pretty much controlling me for a bit. So yeah, pretty straightforward, pretty fun. But yeah, you get the idea. Let's try some PvP. So let's see, we're probably going up against a melee marauder, level 70, not too bad. Throw up the totem, put them on shield, clarity, and everything else. There we go. Now we're gonna be going in, throwing up the resistances on him. Pretty much kills himself from Molten Shell.
Round 2.
Same thing. Throw up totem, tempest, clarity, discipline. Throw up molten. Wait for him to come in. Throw on the 2. Wait for him to obviously come to you. You pretty much have the advantage here. Throw back on the curses. Take him out at distance. Put back up molten.
Blue team gains a
He
point.
dies.
Round 3. Fight.
Same thing. Come back in. Throw up the curses. And this works at distance or mid-range to close range for the most part. Here, let's try to be a little bit offensive.
Blue
Taking
team
him down.
gains a point. Round 4. Fight.
Throwing it up, going to close range. Throwing back on Molten Shell.
Blue
Popping
team
granite.
gains a point.
Dead.
Round 5. Fight.
Totem, Tempest, Clarity, Discipline. Throw Molten. Throw up your curses. Going in. Shield charge. Cold Snap. Dead.
Blue team wins.
Even though he is 14 levels below me, you pretty much get the idea of how the basic spec works. Let's see if we can do one more match or so against somebody else. Actually, been waiting a few minutes. It doesn't look like anyone else is queuing. It's pretty early in the morning. But yeah, as I said before, if you guys liked the video, give it a thumbs up and share with your buddies. And hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. And if you want some more, just let me know. And if you have any comments or suggestions, leave them down below. And on that note, this is Bring Your Friends signing off. See you later, guys.